Happy Friday, Brian Manning here with your weekly update. Let's get right to it. So Monday this week, pretty quiet news day, not much to talk about there. Tuesday this week, so Steve Mnuchin was asked on Tuesday what his thoughts are on the economy. Is he worried about it? He just kind of shrugs it off. No, what's there to be worried about? Everything's rosy. Let me tell you what there is to be worried about. So right now we're approaching what's called the inverted yield curve. So you have the yield on the 10-year bond and the yield on the 2-year bond. And right now, the yield on the 10-year bond is decreasing and the yield on the 2-year bond is increasing. When those two pass each other, you get what's called an inverted yield curve. So when the yield on the 2-year bond is better than the yield on the 10-year bond, now we have a problem. Historically, that means that we're going into a recession. So over time, that's been slowly closing the gap, and it's going to be here sometime in the near future. Wouldn't be surprised if we see us go into recession 2019, probably 2020. Watch the inverted yield curve though, because that's a really good indicator for us. Also Tuesday this week, we got Case Schiller. So Case Schiller's 20-city index looks at appreciation on a year-over-year basis for the month of June. Year-over-year appreciation went down from 6.5% to 6.3%. So still really strong and really good to see. Wednesday this week, and every single Wednesday, we get the Mortgage Bankers Association. They give us feedback on refinances and purchases. We're mostly focused on purchase transactions. So on a year-over-year basis, applications for purchase mortgages are up 3%. You know, it's amazing. This is in really the fight of low inventory, and also mortgage rates are 0.5% higher right now compared to where they were exactly this time 1 year ago. So even with fighting those wins, we're still seeing an increase of 3% in purchase mortgage applications on a year-over-year basis. We also got pending home sales. Pending home sales were down a little bit. On a year-over-year basis, they were down 2.3%. On a month-over-month basis, they were down 0.7%. Remember, this is on a national level. You know, it's not the end of the world. There really is low inventory everywhere. We keep talking about this, and you're going to see a decrease in pending home sales. Not too worried about it. It's just a number that we see. And then Thursday this week, we got PCE. So PCE is the personal consumption expenditure. This is the Federal Reserve's favorite gauge for measuring inflation. And we look at what's called the core rate. So the core rate strips out volatile food and energy costs. The reason why they strip those out is because the Federal Reserve is trying to look at inflationary items that they can control through their monetary policy, which is either raising or lowering rates. And they pull out food and energy because food, for example, is something that could be subject to climate changes, and you could have a good season or a bad season for maybe soybeans. So you're going to have cost of food going up and down based on climate or different items like that the Federal Reserve can't really control. Energy is really subject to all kinds of geopolitical items as well, so that's not really focused on as well. So if you take out the headline, or if you look at the core rate that strips out the volatility of food and energy, core rate PCE right now is at 2%. The Federal Reserve has vocally said that they want to be at 2%. They don't want to exceed 2%. 2% is really their threshold for inflation. So right now, the Federal Reserve gets the green light to raise rates because core rate's right at 2% and they don't want to see exceed that. So really not a bad thing. The Federal Reserve has to raise rates because, as we talked about a minute ago, we're going to go into recession 2019, 2020. I don't really know when, somewhere in there, maybe a little farther out, we'll have to wait and see. But if the Federal Reserve raises rates now when we go into recession, now they have tools in their shed so they can use monetary policy to help stimulate the economy. So not really a bad thing to see the Federal Reserve do this. I'm around. If you have any questions, let me know. Love to help you. Happy Friday. Have a great day.